So it was really great. And I remember that I was so touched by Nahla's story back then and so inspired by it that I followed it, and kept on reading about it. And so I kind of knew about Nahla and her father because I knew back then that she's a girl who's being trained by her father, who's also her coach. And I kept on following Nahla, as she became an icon, in the Egyptian sports. So yeah, so then many years later, I have the chance to meet Captain Ramadan, and then I was so amazed by the fact that he was still training other women to be professional weightlifters. So it wasn't just about Nahla or his other, daughters or trainees that I knew about before. And I felt that it would be really great to make a film about this place and show the journey, but it took me some time to come to this, conclusion that the film should be about one girl and her journey. Like at the beginning, I think I spent the first year just figuring out, all the characters and filming with them. And then after some time, I've decided that it will be Zebiba.
Yeah, this was actually my next question. This was not really like a casting, but you managed to see and discover the girls and spend time with the girls, but also the girls had to trust you. Once you settled on Zebiba, did she know that the film would primarily focus on her, or how did she embark with you on this filming journey? Because also she has a sports journey, but also she had like a film journey with you. How was it to deal with her? How did you convince her? How was the interaction with you with the camera, that there was a team on the playground all the time?
Actually, we were a very minimal crew. It was just me and the DP most of the time. Sometimes like we would have a sound recordist, and then most of the time it would be just me recording sound. So we were almost 2 or 3 persons maximum, filming with them. And we were filming with everyone, at the beginning, as I said. And after some time, even when I decided to focus on Zebiba, I was still filming the other girls and the captain. And I don't think Zebiba really realized that the film is only about her, because I remember at some point she was asking, like, when will this film come out? And I said, we're editing in the moment. Hopefully it will come out soon. And then she said, am I in it? And I was like, yeah, of course you are. So I think she thought that she's just, a girl like everybody else, and that I'm filming everybody equally. But I told Captain Ramadan that, I'm following just Zebiba. And I remember this conversation with him when I felt that, I really want to focus on one girl and show her journey. And for so many reasons, or for my own reasons, I chose Zebiba. But I wanted to know what about him. So I asked him and I said, I'm making this film and I'm trying to focus on one girl and show her journey until she makes it to the World Championships, because that was the initial idea. And he immediately said I should do it about Zebiba, because I asked him, like, from all these girls, who do you think will make it? And he said Zebiba. So I felt that, okay, on top of all my reasons, he made me feel that Zebiba is the right choice. So I think most of the girls didn't really understand what we were doing, but the captain was so was the one that was really understanding, and was very supportive, to the whole process.
May you speak about the process, because the film has taken 4 years to be shot. Of course, doing a documentary, you always go on an adventure. You don't know what's coming next. Now there is a championship, there is something else, this girl drops out, but also you had to deal with the death of the captain along the way. So I wanted to ask you, actually, how did you decide? I assume that you did not shoot every day, but you periodically. So how was the process of following this girl, and when did you decide that, okay, now's the time to end the shooting process? How was it for you to actually develop the arc of the documentary over the 4 years?
Well, at the beginning, we were, or most of the time actually, we were filming a day or two, or sometimes a week every month. And then, we would go and film for a couple of days and then leave and then come back the next month. But I remember that, I asked them whenever they have a championship or a big event that they would tell us, so that we would film that. And they were always telling us if they're having, a championship coming up or something like that. So that was the thing, we weren't really consistent. Like, we weren't there every day for the 4 years, because it's impossible to do that. We ended the 4 years with 300 hours of footage. So that was a lot already. And of course, when Captain Ramadan died, that changed everything, because the initial plan was to follow one girl in her journey, from the start, from the moment that she starts competing in local championships till she makes it and she competes in an international championship, like the World Championships or the Olympics even. But then when Captain Ramadan died, everything changed. And I remember that the DP and I had this moment that we felt that we shouldn't really continue working on the film without having Captain Ramadan, because we were also emotionally attached to him. And in a way, he was also a father figure to us. But I remember the next day of the funeral, or the day following the funeral, I got a call from Zebiba and another girl from the training site, Isra. And I remember they asked us, where are you? We really want you to be with us. We have painted the wall, brought some plants. We want this to be part of the film. So we went, actually. I felt that, okay, if they want us to be with them, then we'll be there for sure. And we shot this scene that you see later in the film, of them re-innovating the place in a way. But that was right after the death in reality. And I kept on filming after that. And I remember that in the last championship that we see in the film, I felt that this can be a very good ending scene. So I kind of knew how the arc will be, because at that moment, the film was not about competition anymore. It was more about, the idea of acceptance of loss, of losing someone close to you, like a coach or some, and the relationship between Zebiba and Captain Ramadan. So after that, the footage that we filmed after this championship, I think we spent a year after that championship filming. But all these footage were just to collect or to film certain relationships that I felt that were missing, in the story. And then I started editing in 2018, I think, with that championship as the ending scene. So I kind of knew, how the film will end. So back then I thought that it would end in this championship, and I knew that, the death sequence, or that we'll have a sequence to show that Captain Ramadan died, and that we will have the different championships as, the pivot points of the story. But I didn't know, how the film will start, what will happen. I discovered that with the editor, in the editing process.
Okay. And speaking of that, before I leave the crowd with some questions, you speak a lot about this nice bond that you have with the girls, that the team has with the girl. There's so much empowerment, really. And even from the coach, you feel like he's addressing all the young boys who are making fun of the girls. And But also you yourself have been surrounded by a very strong female team from your producers. You also worked with a fantastic editor. How was it also to be surrounded yourself with a female crew, which is not something in the Arab world that is not necessarily a given, you know, to have female producers, to have a female editor.
Yeah. Well, you know, for me, you know, when I've decided to work with Sara, for example, the editor, or any other female team member, it was never because she's a female, but more because she's good, you know. And I felt that, you know, for regarding Sara, for example, like she has edited fiction films before, and I feel that like her experience in editing fiction films will really help telling this story. But of course, I mean, working with other women is really great, you know, and it's important in a way. But I don't like to just say that I worked with them just because they are women, but more because they're really good in what they do, and I hope that, you know, other directors, male or female, don't really think about, you know, the gender of the teammates, but rather about, you know, their work. So that's what I usually try to do, you know, in my work at least.
It's just important to mention maybe that we really have fantastic artists that are females in the Arab world. You know, there is so much talent in the Arab world. Many people really ask all the time. There are so many female filmmakers in the Arab world, and for us in the Arab world, this has never been a question. And you know, you have Anne-Marie Jasser from Palestine, you have Nadine Labaki, you have Hala Lutfi, there is you, there are, I mean, all over the Arab world, but also it's also very important to mention that the technicians as well, behind the camera, behind the sound, the music, editing process, it's really full of talent, and it's really nice that you acknowledge it that nicely. Let's move to the audience. Do you have questions for May? Yes, please. There is a microphone that Aman is.
Thank you so much for the film, May. I thought it was brilliant and very touching. It picks up a little bit on the last point about gender. And I was really interested to see Captain Ramadan talking so much about, you know, the traditional things that we might associate with boys and girls, and encouraging women to participate in sport, encouraging the boys to have a dance, and, you know, to not be bound by their gender. And especially to see him being very protective of his team and, you know, throwing stones at the boys who were shouting. Did you see him having to do a lot of that, and, you know, convincing the parents to let the girls participate and that kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, all the time he was always advocating, you know, for women's rights in sports, and in weightlifting in particular. And some moments like we captured and we had in the film, and other moments I couldn't really capture. Like I remember one day, I think at the time we were going to Port Said for one of the championships. I was with them in the bus, and that was not filmed on camera, unfortunately, but it happened in reality. That he found a little girl, and then he started talking to her, and saying, do you know who are these girls? And the girl, I think she was 4 or 5 years old, said no. And then he said, these are, you know, African and world champions, and they play weightlifting. Do you want to do that? And then he started talking to her mother, convincing her that she should bring her sometime just to give it a try. So he was always doing that, like always advocating. And I was so amazed, you know, by all the effort he really puts into everything he does, and how much he really believes in that. And I remember that at the beginning, you know, when I first met him, I had this question, like, why is he doing that? Is he getting anything out of it? And I kind of knew the answer very soon later, you know, when I realized that it's just, he's so passionate about what he does, and he just gives it all himself, you know.
Further questions? Yes, please.
Hello, I really enjoyed that film. I think for those girls, what a lovely, you know, stroke of fate, the universe, to actually be brought with this gentleman at this particular stage in their lives, and the huge change that even if they don't actually become champions, just I think experiencing that is amazing, and you capture that beautifully in your film. I had a question about the overall production of the project. Looking at the credits of this film and the many wonderful films that we watched at the festival, it appears like there was a universe of funding that independent filmmakers like yourself have to navigate. What's it like? I mean, in many ways, you as a independent filmmaker are like one of those little girls who has to strike some sort of a connection with a group or with a body that helps you nurture the idea and take it to a world stage. And thank you very much for the film again.
Thank you. Well, actually, I mean, looking now at the credits, you might think that that was an easy, project to do or to produce. And as a producer, I have to admit that it wasn't at all. And I actually the first 2 or 3 years of production, we had no money at all, no funding. We were rejected in all the funds and the grants that I applied to. And that was kind of frustrating, but I didn't really want to stop filming. I believed so much in the project that I said, that I will do it no matter what, even if no one else will give me any money to do it. But then I think after the second or the third year, we had the first grant when we really edited, a sequence of scenes from the 3 years of footage that we have. And then we received this first grant, and I was so happy that I would be I was finally able to pay the crew or everybody else who worked on this project. And then the second grant came, which was great. So it really it was I think I was trying to fundraise for this film for the whole period of 6 years of making it, and the funding happened in the second half of the process, but the first half I had to do it, and we were sometimes I was rejected in a fund more than once. I think we received one fund after 3 times of rejection, which is great. That eventually you see that they've decided to support the project, and I have to admit that I'm so happy and I'm so lucky to have supporters from all over the world who really believed in this project and believed in my artistic, vision to do it. Because, you would think, okay, if you're applying to this fund or grant, maybe some funders will have any input artistically, but that was never the case. And I'm so happy that, eventually it got financed and eventually it was made. But it was another journey in itself.
We have another question. Yes, please.
Thank you. Like everyone else, I'm sure I really enjoyed your film. Thank you. At one point, we see Captain Ramadan on the phone attempting to get resource for what he's doing. It doesn't seem that the authorities were forthcoming, and everything is done on an absolute shoestring. What is in your opinion, what is the view of the authorities, and why are they not willing to back an obvious winner in relationship to women's and girls' sport?
I think, like many other countries, the focus is mainly on football, and all the other sports, not just weightlifting, are neglected in a way because all the money goes to football, unfortunately. At least this is the case in Egypt, and it's not, I cannot say that this is because they are a group of women. No, actually, even if, and actually this training site has some men training in it as well, but that doesn't really matter because I think, I don't know, as I said, like football is getting all the attention, and it's not only, the government that's not helping, but also if you think about it, businessmen or NGOs, they're not also supporting, any sport groups in the region, I can say, or in Egypt.
A final question? Anyone? Yes, please.
Hi, thank you very much for the film. I really, really enjoyed it. And yeah, I was wondering, having been involved in such a kind of poignant and emotional project for such a long time, where are you looking for your next project, and what type of film are you thinking about working on next?
Well, actually, I'm working on at the moment on a fiction feature film, narrative feature. I think because I really work in both, like documentary and fiction films. I believe that the story itself is the thing that determines the genre. And for my upcoming project, it's a road trip, so I think for a documentary it would be a bit tricky. So I'd rather do it in a fiction, or a narrative feature.
Anyone else? Actually, the gentleman stole my question. I wanted to end up on that note, actually, because you did the Vice Room, which is a very fiction kind of thing, and this one was a long journey. I wanted to ask you if you see yourself more in fiction or in documentary.
Yeah, but actually, I have to add that I'm still working on Lift Like a Girl. I think it never really ends because at the moment, like I'm working on the impact campaign of the film, which is supported by Beirut DC actually. And like I'm working with the editor Sarah Abdallah on a shorter version of the film that's child appropriate, so that we can screen it in schools and youth centers and do this kind of work on ground, because I think it's really important, because I hope that young girls across Egypt can watch the film and feel, oh, okay, if Zebiba can do it, then we can do it too. They don't have to be weightlifters, but just to inspire them to follow their dreams no matter what. So I'm working on that at the moment, and I'm also trying to organize like panels and to open a conversation about women in sports, or like nutrition, or themes that the film has tackled in a way.
Did you feel something like that did you feel that the discussion has kicked off because the film has been recently released in Egypt, and I've been seeing what you are doing at Zawiya and at other places? Do you feel there is an interest, actually, because the gentleman also asked about authorities, but is the public also interested in pushing something further?
Yeah. That's what I feel, and I'm so happy, and surprised at the same time that this is the reaction, because I think that's what any filmmaker dreams of, to have this reaction coming from the audience and coming from the public and from the media. The media in Egypt celebrated the film in a way that I never really expected or imagined. And it's, at the end of the day, it's a feature documentary, and it's not that common, to watch documentaries, so yeah, so I'm very happy, and I really hope that the buzz that the film has created already can help in pushing forward the impact campaign and taking the film to more audience, to the kind of audience that cannot afford going to the movie theater or watching the film on Netflix or any other platform, because I feel that this is the important audience that I really want to, reach out to.
Mayye, thank you so much. I can't imagine myself doing Q&A at almost midnight, but you're a champion of doing that. Thank you so much. The audience also, thank you for being with us. As we said, Mayye's film is on Netflix in a matter of a week, I think. so you can encourage everyone to see the film. As to you who are still with us, tomorrow is our last physical screening day. We've seen some of you in so many screenings, so we thank you for supporting this program. Tomorrow at 3:30 in the afternoon here in the cinema, we're going to screen a series of shorts, including, of course, an Egyptian short that made headlines just like Mayye's film. It's called I'm Afraid to Forget Your Face by Samah Hala, and it won the Palme d'Or at this last edition of the Cannes Film Festival. It was the only Palme d'Or that was given because the festival didn't take place and only the shorts were screened. And it's a very kind of interesting, tough, difficult, but also very moving film from Egypt, alongside 3 other shorts that we're screening. And at 6 p.m. is our physical closing screening. We're screening 200 Meters, which is a Palestinian film by Amin Naife, which premiered at the Venice Film Festival. Thank you so much, May. Thank you so much to the public. Thank you to the ICA for facilitating this, and hopefully see you tomorrow.
Bye.
Shukran, May.
Bye, May. Thank you.
Thank you.